Some tips for writing a strong cover letter. So your first impression, I'm going to cover a few tips talking about your first impression, why it's important, and that it's a chance to demonstrate that you can pay attention to detail, read through the job description and align key points with your resume, be brief and to the point, and sign off with your contact details. So point number one, your first impression. So a cover letter is really about making a good first impression. It is your introduction into that company or even into the recruiter. So before anyone looks at your resume, they're going to look at your cover letter. Now, yes, there's a lot going around saying that cover letters aren't that important, but I'm here to tell you that they are. And the reason they are is because most of the people that make the final decision about hiring you are greyheads. You know, people like me in our 50s, 60s. And we're old school. We still want to see a cover letter. We want to see the manners. We want to see the conciseness. We want to see your elevator pitch around the cover letter. So they are important. Don't let anyone tell you different. It's important to include a cover letter or a cover email with your application. And it's about your elevator pitch. Not quite as short as an elevator pitch, but an extended version of an elevator pitch where you telling the person who's going to hire you in the sharpest, shortest way why they should hire you or why you're a candidate they should consider. Another important thing about the cover letter is that it's your chance to demonstrate that you pay attention to detail. So when you look at most job ads, you'll see that sentence pop up quite a bit. Someone who pays attention to detail. I think 80 to 90, maybe even 95% of job ads I've seen have got that phrase somewhere in the selection criteria. Someone who pays attention to detail. And this is what the cover letter demonstrates, that you have read the job description and that you've understood what's being asked of you and that you have addressed the key points of what's been asked of you in your cover letter. So it's kind of like a test. You know, a cover letter is really a test, and that's why it is important. And as I said, people say it's not so important, it's not as necessary, but it is. It's necessary to pass one of the most important tests in the job search protocol, and that is to see if you can actually understand instructions, address those instructions in the shortest, sharpest way possible. Here's where the rubber hits the road with a cover letter. Read the job description. Read it again, and read it again and again. Read it as many times as you can. Read it alongside your resume. Highlight, underline the key points in your resume that lines up to the selection criteria in the job description, and address those selection criteria with examples from your resume. Now, here's where I'd guide you and advise you not to use more than 2 or 3 examples because, as I mentioned earlier, you want to be sharp and concise. So you don't want to write war and peace in your cover letter. Cover letters should be brief and to the point. They need to address the selection criteria, and that's why I say over and over. It's like a mantra. Read the selection criteria, read it again, read it alongside your resume, highlight the key points, and then include those key points in your cover letter, ensuring that you're using some of the words that's written in a cover letter. So if they talk, for example, about team leadership and they have a certain way of phrasing it, like they use mentoring and coaching, then you should be using mentoring and coaching somewhere in your cover letter. Always try to match up some of the words in your cover letter to what is written in the job selection criteria. Demonstrate that you've understood what they're saying. Aside from addressing the key selection criteria, always put a very brief snapshot of your qualifications, your achievements, and your experience. And this can be in one paragraph. It can be 2 to 3 sentences long in one paragraph. Be brief and to the point. So cover letters should not be longer than 1 page long. That can range between 350 and 450 words depending on the font you use, the font size. So 12-point font size in the safe fonts like Arial, Times New Roman, and so on. Easy to use in a cover letter, and it'll get you to around, say, 400, 450 words at the most on a page. Be brief and to the point, and here's why. Especially in tight job markets, people are reading through loads of applications. So you don't want to come across as the irritating candidate who writes war and peace in a cover letter or in your resume. Be mindful of the reader's time. The other reason why is that it's always about trying to test and see if you can sell yourself in an elevator pitch. Can you be brief and concise? Can you tell someone the key, the pertinent points about you without going on and waffling on and on? You don't want to have your readers yawning with boredom when they're reading through your cover letter, or yawning with boredom when they're reading through your resumes. So be brief and to the point. Sign off your cover letter with a thank you. Just a simple thank you for considering my application. It's manners. Manners count, always will count. So sign off with a thank you. And here's another important tip. Sign off with your name and a contact number. You'll be surprised at how many cover letters I've received in my time where there's no name and there's no contact number. Sure, you might have your contact details on your resume, but sometimes people want to expedite a process. So they want to have a quick discussion with you before they even read your resume. If you don't provide a contact number, something that's easy for them to pick up the phone and call you back, you could miss out on an opportunity. And it's just plain and simple good protocol to always make it easy to provide your name, your contact number, and to be mindful of your manners and thank people for considering your application. So in summary, cover letters, your first impression is important. So that's a chance to impress people, impress the hiring manager or the recruiter with a cover letter. The cover letter is also a chance to demonstrate that you have attention to detail. As I said, most job descriptions will have that phrase somewhere in the job description, someone who pays attention to detail. Reading through the cover letter and reading through the job description, and understanding the selection criteria is important. And this is another chance where your cover letter will demonstrate that you understand and that you've read through the job description. Be brief and to the point. Always be mindful of the reader's time. Remember, they're reading through hundreds of applications, and so be mindful of their time. Be short and sharp, and have short and sharp examples to demonstrate your experience against their job selection criteria. And lastly, always remember your manners and sign off with thank you for considering my application, and don't forget to leave your name and your contact number so someone can reach you easily. And next, look out for my guide on how to ace your interviews. There's some golden tips in that, and I hope it helps you get to your interview and, more importantly, nail your interview so you land your next role easily.